Hi, I'm Catherine and I'm going to be your teacher for today. Here at Prime Pass, we've put together lots of videos for you to create a masterpiece in the comfort of your own home. So make yourself comfortable, pour yourself a drink, and let's get ready to get creative. In your painting kit, you'll have everything you need to create your masterpiece. You'll have 12 tubes of acrylic paint. You'll have 2 paintbrushes, a medium-sized brush and a smaller brush. You'll have your 8" by 9" canvas board, your painting palette where you'll squirt your paints on and do your mixing. You'll also need kitchen towel, a cup of water and a kitchen sponge. In this tutorial, we'll be painting the cactus and we'll be adding really beautiful orangey summer tones. It's a really simple painting, perfect for beginners, so let's get started. When you have all your materials set up in front of you, we can start preparing our painting palette. For this picture, we're going to be using white, dark green, orange and black. So we're going to start by squirting a blob of white into our palette. So we need to mix the darker green that we don't already have in our paint tube, so we're going to have to do that with our brush. So I'm going to dip my brush in my water just to get it a little bit damp, and then I'm going to take a tissue and then just dry my brush slightly in my tissue. And I'm going to take some black and then I'm going to add that straight into my green. And I'm going to give that a good mix. Okay, I'm just going to take off the excess on the sides of the palette. And now we can start painting. So I'm going to wash off my brush in my water. And dry it into my tissue. And now we can bring in our canvas. So I'm just going to move my palette to the side and bring in my canvas. So I'm just going to change my water to make sure my colours don't go murky. And I'm going to take my kitchen sponge and I'm going to dip it into my water. And then I'm just going to squeeze off the excess. And then I'm going to dip into the orange paint. So I'm going to use the corner of the sponge. And when we're doing our background, we want kind of really nice free strokes. Kind of keep your wrist really loose. And these strokes don't have to be kind of perfectly horizontal, they can kind of go a little bit diagonal. Okay, so when we have really good coverage with our orange, we're going to dip into the white. So with that same corner of my sponge, I'm going to dip into the white. And then I'm going to add that onto my canvas on top of the orange, because we want to create really nice light tones that are going to come through. So when you're adding the white, don't lean too hard with your sponge, and also don't kind of overwork the paint too much, because we don't want the colours to mix together, we just want them to blend. So we do still want to see those kind of streaks coming through. Okay, so when we got some nice coverage of some white, I'm going to find a clean edge of my sponge, and I'm just going to blend the colours together. Okay, so there we have our background. We'll wait for that to dry and then we'll start drawing our cactus. So once your background is completely dry, we can start drawing in our cactus. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to start with the top of the cactus. So I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way up the canvas, and then I'm going to find my kind of central point and I'm going to make a little mark. And this is going to be the very top of the cactus, and then I'm going to work my way down. So you can choose kind of what shape you want your cactus to be, whatever you want to do. If you want kind of a really big one or a skinnier one, it's completely up to you. But we're going to bring these two lines downwards. Okay, so once we've reached the very bottom, we're going to start to kind of draw in the cactus's branches. So these little kind of curvy shapes that are going to come outwards. Okay, I'm just drawing in the last branch at the bottom. There we go. And now we can start filling in the cactus. So I'm going to take my small paintbrush, just so we can be really precise. And I'm going to dip into that dark green that we just mixed. So I'm going to make sure my brush is really well coated. And we're going to fill in everything that we've just drawn. So I'm going to start from the top and work my way down, just so my hand doesn't smudge any paint. So as you're painting your cactus, you might want to just use the paint to just slightly change the shape of some of your branches or any other area of the cactus, and just to kind of manipulate the shape just a little bit to make some of your branches just slightly more pointy. Okay, so when you finish filling in your cactus, you might just want to have a look at some of your branches, and you might want to make some of them just slightly more pointy. So we can go just a little bit thinner at the top and wider as it comes down. Also the very top of the cactus, I'm just going to add a little point at the top, so it's kind of not too circular. So before we add the highlights, I'm just going to wash my brush in my water. And I'm going to dry it off in a tissue. So for the highlights, I'm going to dip into the white with the tip of my brush. And I'm also going to dip into the green as well. So we're going to have two colours on there. And then from the top, I'm going to draw downwards lines to add the highlights to our cactus. So starting at the top, I'm going to paint downwards. And as you're running out of paint, you can dip back into the white and the green. And then I'm going to do the same again on the right hand side next to the line that we just painted. So once you've done the main highlights on the base of your cactus, we're going to do the same again on our branches. So you're welcome to kind of look online and get some inspiration with different cactus shapes. Whatever you want to do, this is your painting. Get really creative with this. Okay, so there we have our highlights on our branches. And now I'm going to dip my brush into my white again. And I'm going to add little dots, which I'm going to put on the lines, but just next to the lines, so not completely on top of the lines that we've just painted, but slightly to the side. And this is to add a nice little detail to our cactus. So once we've added that really nice detail on the base of our cactus, we're going to do the same for our branches. Okay, so we're just coming to the end of our last branch with these details. And I'm just going to wash off my brush in my water. And what you might want to do is to get even more creative with this. If you wanted to add flowers to your cactus, this might be a nice little touch at the end. So I'm going to take some magenta and I'm going to squirt a little bit into my palette. And I'm going to take my small brush again and I'm going to dip into the magenta and also the white as well. And then I'm going to add in various places around the cactus, I'm going to add little strokes of our white and magenta. And when we add these strokes, they'll blend really nicely together. Okay, I'm just adding the final few strokes. And there we have our summery cactus. I really hope you've enjoyed painting the cactus with me today. Do check out more of our videos. We have a whole range of paintings for you to choose from. So I hope to see you in the next tutorial.